Hello and welcome back to GTR2 and round 3, race 2 of the 1994 Australian Manufacturers Championship here at a wet and soggy Winton. We had a very exciting race 1 where James Kay in the Rd3 Arena pulled off a last lap pass on Peugeot's Phil Alexander to take his first win of the season, the first win for Toyota and the first win for James Kay in this year's series. A really exciting race, a lot of action out. New hour on board with Peter Duhlmann, who got caught up with the Technophone Mercedes. James Kay took a pit stop on his way to the race 1 win, where he caught and passed Phil Alexander on the final lap. We had a scrappy race, started third, got into a bit of action here with Tony Longhurst on the last lap. A few cars sustained a lot of damage. Greg Murphy started off the pole, but he ended up with a mechanical failure stuck in the pits, while we scrabbled home just in front of Tony Longhurst in 6th place. A bit of a lucky finish, but that's where we'll start race 2, and let's now go and check out the grid. And on pole position, by dint of his first race win, James Kay in the Rx3 Arena, and he's got Phil Alexander alongside in the Fortec Peugeot. Row number 2, John Cotter in the BMW and Steve Ellery in the Ford Sierra. Position 5, John Blanchard in the number 20 BMW M3, and he's joined on the 3rd row by us, Russ Dugman, car number 9, the Peugeot 405. From 7, Tony Longhurst, the championship leader in the Benson and Hedges BMW, alongside reigning champion Peter Duhlmann. Rounding out the top 10, Ken Matthews in the Peugeot, and Peter McKay in the first of the Mercedes-Benz. From 11, the last finisher in Heat 1, Peter Hills in the Ford Sierra. From 12, Mark Adderton. 13, Phil Ward. Position number 14, Paul Morrison. Off the tail of the field, the man who sat on pole for race 1, Greg Murphy. So now let's cross down to the grid. We're starting out at position 6. Let's see how we go in another wet race. Still a damp track for Heat 2. 6 on the grid. We can see the lights this time. Away we go. Bogged down again, but not too bad. Tony Longhurst and John Blanchard on the inside. Cars bumping into each other ahead of us. Into the back of John Blanchard. Longhurst on the inside. Up to the sweeper for the first time. We'll hold the inside. Longhurst alongside us. Ellery sideways. We're sideways, we're on the grass, following John Blanchard. Up to turn 4. Around the tight part. So Kay leads. Duhlmann, Alexander, Blanchard, then us, then Ken Matthews, our teammate. So we're 5th. Onto the back straight. 4th gear. On the curve. We got to run onto Blanchard onto the front straight. We're right behind him. Not quite. This is obviously Peugeot's day. We've got 3 in the top 6. Into the back of Blanchard. A little bit more grip in this race compared to Heat 1. Around the sweeper. Like Tony Longhurst in there behind Ken Matthews. So we go around the tank corner. Through this left-handed. Not often you turn left around Winton. Around onto the back straight. Sideways. We're going to run into the second part of the sweeper. The S's rather. And we'll try and switch back on the inside. Not quite. Blanchard had us covered. Get on the inside. Through. We can have a go at the sweeper. day of great racing at Winton. Mixed up results. Got Longhurst trying to come through. He's in there behind. Can go on the outside of Blanchard. Not quite. Trying the over and under. Blanchard is closing in on Phil Alexander in third. Down to second gear. Almost doing what we did in race one. Managed to save it. Going back onto the front straight. Down to second gear. Get a run on Blanchard. We've still got Matthews behind us, our teammate. Through the sweeper. Phoenix Motorsport, who prepare these Peugeots. In 94 they prepared the Ken Matthews Peugeot, but in this game they're preparing ours too. They're a very good Formula Ford team in sort of the late 80s and early 90s. And then they made the move to 2-litre racing. Ran Peugeots for a couple of years, later went into a Toyota. Ran Russell Ingall in a Vauxhall Cavalier / Holden Vectra for half the season too. Blanchard leaves the door open. Trying to get up inside. No, it's a bit slippery out wide. Sun's starting to go down. On a damp and mixed up day. Of course, this race 2 at Winton in 1994 was the famous race where Tony Longhurst and Paul Morris had their little punch-up after a mid-race, or a late race crash rather, down the front straight, where Longhurst jumped out and ran over to Morris's window and threw a punch in the driver's door. Just look that up on YouTube. I think it's fairly readily available. Through the chicane, the S's, was it? Oh, Blanchard was sideways, then we got sideways. Ken Matthews trying to look up the inside of us. Give him room. He slots in behind. Lap 6 of 22. Through the tight, the whole track's tight. This is the tightest part of the tight track. Up on the curve. Around onto the back straight. We get a bit of a run onto the front straight. We'll go up the inside and we get it done. So now we're going to go after the Fortec Peugeot. Oh, and just as oh, that hurts. just as we were getting ourselves into a good position, I've slipped off the road at the sweeper, and that is ridiculously bad driving. We've got Mark Adderton all over us now, and in fact he's going under us. And then John Blanchard's off. Well, that's another spot made. But that doesn't negate. Oh, I just can't believe that. Just taken fourth spot, and then I must have just gotten in a bit too hot, or I've gone in a bit too, maybe a bit too wide, and it just oversteered off. At least there's not much to hit at Winton, although John Blanchard just found something to hit. So we have to do it all over again. We're up behind Mark Adderton, Momo Course BMW. Man who would become a stalwart of 2-litre racing in Australia for many years. Mercedes is into the pits. Maybe to go to intermediates. There were a couple of them pitted in the last race, which I guess is probably what they're doing, because we're now up to P4. Over the curb. So up now to corner onto the back straight. We've got Longhurst and Morris behind us. Blanchard's car's gone by now. And Mark Adderton's going into the pits. So are the BMWs, and we're leading the race now, so maybe they've gone on intermediate tyres, or in the interests of a fair race, I think we'll make a pit stop as well. It's obviously something in the coding or something for the GTR2 game that the AI perhaps runs out of tyres, or feels the need to make a pit stop at the moment. The weather changes. Doesn't seem to be any rain at the moment. The track still seems quite greasy. It's coming around. I think we'll pit at the end of this lap. Split it in half. Halfway down, halfway to go. Up to the tank corner. Interesting to see where we filter back out. Fourth gear. Into the S's. Motorsport nears S's, as it was at the time. And we'll come around to the pits now. Get it down to... Out we go. The rustic pit lane here at Winton. And now the awkward rejoin. Out of the pits, 7th place. Pretty much where we were when we came in. Through the sweeper. Cold tyres. So we have dropped a spot to the 2 BMWs. We're in front of, I think it's Phil Ward in the Technophone Mercedes. Down the back straight. Track is quite dry. Around now onto the main straight. I was going to say it's quite dry, but it is still quite slippery. I think it's just deceiving when there's no other cars around, it looks dry. Through the sweeper. Here we go. Feels like I got some grip now. Tyres I was on obviously were quite worn away. Can we make some time up on the BMWs ahead? Through the S's. Get wide. Touch the dirt. Car off up ahead. And was that the leader, James Kay? On his way to doing the double. We nearly did a different sort of double with a spin. That could have been the leader, James Kay. And that could open the win up to anyone at the moment. Because the 2 BMWs are buried in the pack, 4th and 5th it seems like at the moment. Maybe Phil Alexander has the lead in the Fortec Peugeot. Through the S's. 8 laps to go. And we've just slipped off the racing line there. And round we go. That is hopeless. What are we doing? Oh. Talk about it all going wrong. That is just... I can't even speak. That... I'm not going to blame the talking while I'm driving, because that's what this channel's all about. So... And I guess I'm sure you guys want to see me battling with cars, not necessarily carving everyone up, so... Just means we've got more cars to pass now. Through the sweeper. We've got to really push on now because we're not even in the points. Peter Hills and one of the Mercedes Benzes. Down to the S's. Well, okay. That's ridiculous. We're seeing 2 pit stops in this race. That's, well, that's just the game, I guess. We'll do one because I don't want to win in these sorts of circumstances. Very... bit disappointing because it's been a good day's racing in these 2 races. But we'll mirror what the AI does. Out of the pits we go. Back in the same place we were. Right behind Hills and whichever one of the Mercedes it is. And the Mercedes gone round the outside of Hills through the chicane. Through the sweeper, rather. Well, 2 pit stops in 18 laps. Not what I thought this race was going to have in store, but anyway. At least we're sort of... if we mirror what they do, at least it ends up being... a fair race. So can we get Peter Hills and get a point out of this race? Through turn 1. Up to the old Sierra. Not going to get him with mistakes like that. Around the back of the circuit. Soaring on the wheel. Coming around with 3 laps to go. Over the curb. Hope we can get hills, because I've got to say overall it's 2 races where I expected more from here at Winton. Into the sweeper. Over the curb. The Mercedes has gone in front of hills and just taken off. Around the top corner. Around with 2 laps to go. Over the curb. That's the trick to a quick lap here, just rattle it over the curves. I almost thought he was going to the pits there. Into turn 1, over the curve on the inside, can we get... Oh, we got the run on him, up to the sweeper. Hills gets ahead. We have a dive up the inside into the tank corner. We'll have a stick our nose in. He stays ahead. Around now, onto the back straight. We're going to have one more shot at it. A bit quicker through here. Onto the front straight. Have a dive into turn 1 maybe. Up the inside. We're there. Into 10th. Provided we can keep it. 4th gear up to the sweeper. Bit of a disappointing day, but if we can come away with 10th. Bit annoyed with how this race has played out. The AI pitting twice in 22 laps is pretty silly, but we've had 5 good races up until now. If there's one bad one, that's just how it is. Up to the S's for the final time. I've made some poor mistakes in this race too, so which isn't great, but here we go. Round onto the straight, finish 10th, pick up a point. And let's check how the results finished up for Winton Race 2. And a great drive from Paul Morris in the Diet Coke BMW sees him go from 14th to 1st to take the win in Race 2 here today, 4 seconds clear of Mark Adderton and Tony Longhurst in 2nd and 3rd. Phil Alexander backs up his 2nd place in Race 1 with a 4th in Heat 2, and John Cotter rounded out the top 5. Steve Ellery finished 6th in the Shellgrave Sierra ahead of Phil Ward in the Mercedes, Peter Dillman 8th, Greg Murphy gets his first points of the season in 9th, and we rounded out the top 10 with another scrappy race, unfortunately. The only other finisher again was Peter Hills in 11th place. James Kay retired from the lead with a suspension failure. Peter McKay had gearbox trouble, while John Blanchard and Ken Matthews had brake trouble, which caused their retirements. So now here's the points at the halfway mark of the championship. 3 rounds and 6 races down, 3 rounds and 6 races to go, and Tony Longhurst has a 28-point lead over teammate Paul Morris. He's lost a bit of ground today. Morris, that win in race 2, despite scoring no points in race 1, he's rocketed up to second in the points. 2 ahead of Mark Adderton in third, with John Cotter and Peter Dillman, teammates, tied on points in equal 4th. Equal 6th, Phil Ward and John Blanchard. Phil Ward's had a very inconsistent first 3 rounds. His double win at Phillip Island has kept him in the top 10. Peter McKay is 8th. Phil Alexander has shot into the top 10 with his 2 great results today. And Steve Ellery rounds out the 10 in the Chelgrave Sierra. James Kay sits 11th on 21 points. We've dropped to 12th unfortunately on 19. Hopefully we can make a bit of ground up in the second half of the championship, but challenging for the title looks a bit unlikely at the moment. Peter Hills is 13th on 16 points, Ken Matthews 14th on 7, and Greg Murphy, he rounds out the 15, only 2 points from his 1 score in race 2 here at Winton, so he'll be hoping for a much more competitive run in the second half of the year. So with that, that's where we'll leave Winton. 3 rounds down, 3 to go in the 1994 Australian Manufacturers Championship. Tony Longhurst the big leader. We'll see you next time in the series. Round 4 is at Lakeside in Queensland. In between though, we'll be going to round 2 of the 1994 German Touring Car Cup. So we'll see you then very shortly. Thanks for watching.